Hello and welcome to Talk of Game. It's match preview West Ham United against Fulham. After a week in the sunshine of Spain, is back to the London Stadium for West Ham and back to fighting for 8th spot in the Premier League. And Gonzo, as always, what's your thoughts on our opponents, the Cottagers?
Well, they spent big money alongside Wolves, and you'd say alongside ourselves and Leicester. The manager had done very, very well last season. I think they had Sessegnon scoring goals for fun. Of course, last season they got Mitrovic on loan from Newcastle, made that deal permanent, kept hold of Kearney, of course, who we were heavily linked with. And were they the ones that bought Mawson? I think maybe maybe they were. We were linked with him. Fortunately, they wasted their money on him rather than us. And they looked all set to have a very, very good season, but they've been absolutely crap and obviously replaced their manager.
Luke, what about yourself? What's your thoughts on Fulham?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much what Gonzo said, really. I mean, when they came up, I like the way they play football, move the ball around. I think they are a good side. They were a good side, but they've got some good players, no doubt. I mean, there's definitely a few players that I'd easily pinch from there. But yeah, it's just not clicked for them this season in the Premier League. So that's why they're clearly probably going to go down. But yeah, I mean, it's a shame because they played a nice brand of football. It's just it hasn't clicked for them, and that's their problem this season.
If come May, if there was a big shiny badge for most disappointing team of the year, Fulham are winning that. You can't come up and spend 100 million. When people did their thing at the start of the season where you predict where everyone's going to finish, a lot of people have Fulham in the top 12 of the league, etc. They thought they've got a good manager there, they're coming up with a good foundation, and they spent 100 million to it, so surely they've got enough to stay in the Premier League. The reality is they're closer to Huddersfield Town right now than they are of Cardiff City, who are sitting in 17th in the league. It's just not worked out. They've brought in some big personalities who have been poor. Andre Schürrle has been terrible for him. I would have liked to see him at West Ham in the summer when he went to Fulham. I thought, oh, that's a good signing for Fulham, etc. But every time I watched him, I thought he's one of the worst players for Fulham. He gets hooked on the hour every single game. But for some reason, Ranieri sort of alludes to it, but he still doesn't change it. He's got too many influencers, I think, on the bench. For Fulham, it's a bit strange. Whenever I watch Fulham, they create enough chances to win the game. I do think they create chances. I think sometimes they create the chance before the chance. That makes sense, i.e. they play the fullback in behind defence, but the cross just isn't good enough. They do enough to win games, but it's just not worked since August until now, and it looks like it could be too little too late if they even get something going. Gonzo, we both said at least they didn't go for an old school British manager when they appointed Ranieri. Yeah, I'm sort of chuckling too. I mean, I'd rather forget that prediction because it doesn't look like they've made the wrong choice in getting in the Tinkerman.
Yeah, they got an old school continental manager instead. Yeah, I mean, it shows how much we know, really. I do understand what they did, but as I understand it, the more we found out, the old coach, Jovetic, what was his name? Yeah, Jankovic, Jovetic, was it Jovetic?
Yeah, Jankovic, yeah.
Jankovic. They weren't his players, apparently. They were given to him. They were bought by somebody else, so he didn't get the players that he requested, which is always going to be a tough ask for any coach. So he may well be a good coach. I mean, as Luke suggested earlier, they played some really nice football, moved the ball around really well, and he's absolutely right. They looked fantastic last season. I remember watching the playoff final, which of course Fredericks was involved in. I thought when they brought Seri in, is that his name? The guy that we were linked with, he really looks like a box-to-box midfielder, looks like a very good player. We were linked with him all summer for 35 million, and he goes and signs for them for 23, so I don't know what was going on there. You just thought good things were going to happen, really, with him, but that was definitely a bad move, Gio. The move for the manager was a bad move. In hindsight, maybe they should have looked for something a little bit different, but what has worked out? You look at Southampton; they're still in and around, and they've changed manager as well. Huddersfield have changed manager; they're still in and around it. It may well be that the team that have stuck rather than twisted in Cardiff and stuck with Neil Warnock may well be the ones that stay all right. You know.
Look, match day 27. Fulham are currently second bottom in the Premier League, 8 points behind Cardiff, who are sitting in 17th spot. Can they stay up, Luke, or do you think it's too little, too late? Are they down?
I do think they are as good as down, pretty much. I mean, I think the problem is that they've got all this money, but they've bought in Ranieri when really they should have brought in someone like Sam Allardyce, who, Big Sam, I mean, I'm sure he wouldn't have wanted to go down back into the Championship, but he knows that they've got money. It's a similar project to when we went down in 2011. They needed Big Sam. They got Ranieri, who is a manager. You never know what you're going to get. I can't see them staying up, but they do have some top players in their side, which it's a strange one. You do expect Mitrovic to win them a few games. You do expect a few people like that. Schürrle was a match winner at Chelsea. It's just a strange one, but I think it's too little too late for them, to be honest.
We'll come on to the individual players in a second, Luke. But Gonzo, do you think the Cottagers are on their way back to the Championship?
Yeah, if you look at the Premier League, so if you go from 14th downwards, so 13th, 12th, that's Crystal Palace, Leicester, Bournemouth. Those teams are not going to go down. They've got too much about them. Their players are too good. So if you then look at 14th, 15th, 16th, well, that's Brighton, Burnley, and Newcastle. Benitez has sorted it out. Sean Dyche has sorted it out. And Brighton have probably got too much about because he knows what he's doing there, Chris Hughton, which really leaves 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, which is basically three teams and three places and four teams. Cardiff City, Southampton, Fulham, Huddersfield. I just can't see how they can get out of it. I really can't. They've got to be better than Southampton and Cardiff, and I cannot see them doing it, mate.
I think their hope of staying up relies on Southampton, actually. Southampton appear to be in free fall at the minute for whatever reason, and they got beat at home to Cardiff. That was a big, big loss for the Saints. Fulham, there's always one team that goes on a run at the end of the season that's at the bottom. There's always someone that does it. Huddersfield did it last season. They just kept winning and scraping wins and did enough to stay up. It might be Fulham. They've got the players there. They've got talent in that squad to do it. They've got Mitrovic who's on 10 goals. Not every club in the Premier League's got a goal scorer in double figures at this stage of the season. So if you go down with a striker that hit double figures, there's something seriously wrong. And Fulham's defence were shipping goal after goal after goal at the start of the season. Even playing Callum Chambers, a defender, in front of the defence, they're still conceding goals. I mean, you see them against Man United. They're sort of trying to punch. Then they just part like the sea, and Martial's through and go, bam, well, Pogba score, then Martial score, then it's game over after half an hour, 2-0 down. We did it against them at Craven Cottage. Fulham are looking all right. Bam, bam, goal, game over. What are you going to do now? That's their problem. Individual players at Craven Cottage, Gonzo, they've got a few good ones. Pick out one or two that you wouldn't mind seeing at West Ham next season, if anyone.
Sessegnon, absolutely. Get that boy over. Whoever gets him is going to have a really, really good player on their hands. Having said that, where would he play for West Ham? I think Seri, I spoke about him. That's exactly the area where I think we need us legs and a good shot from midfield and whatnot. So I think he would do very well for us. Actually, the place where we're really desperate is up front, and you've already mentioned him, is Mitrovic. How well he'd fit in Pellegrini's style, I don't know. But as you say, they've got some good players there, mate.
What about yourself, Luke? You've alluded to top players at Fulham, and intrigued to who you consider to be a top player.
No, I mean, there's a few there. I think Schürrle on his day can be world class. But to be fair, I think the missing link for our central sort of defensive midfield problems would be someone like Tom Kearney, who I'd absolutely love at West Ham. I think, he's that player that can, a bit like Noble at times, can dictate play from the back and just pass, keep it simple and do the work, those interceptions that can do a lot in a game. I really like Tom Kearney as a player. I think he's a good person on the ball. I think also Sessegnon, I've actually got a mutual friend with Ryan Sessegnon, and they said he's just such a humble lad and he's in no rush to leave Fulham at all, which is obviously a good thing to hear. And I think Mitrovic again would be a great striking option for us if we lose Arnautovic in the summer. Another nutcase really, but I think he'd be good up top.
I kind of echo what you said. In fact, that Kearney and Sessegnon's been repeated is. That's two players that Ranieri's struggling to get into the starting 11. That's got to be alarm bells if you're a Fulham fan. Two players that are heavy influencers of the game. Yeah, he's not starting them, and that's why they're in the relegation zone, in my opinion. He's not playing his best players because they don't fit his system. So rather than change the system and get the best out of your best players, he's thinking, well, bugger it, you'll just sit out and I'll put in sort of players are not as good, but they fit my system. There's a balance there, and I just think Ranieri's sort of gone from the tinker man to the stubborn man, and he's going to end up being the relegated man in May because of his ways, etc. The only other player I'll add is the former Liverpool player. He's got red hair, Babel. I think he's looked all right actually since coming back to Fulham. Remember his first game against Spurs caused Kane Trippier all sorts of problems down that side. Should have scored against Man United, but hit the post from about a yard out, but it was a very tight angle. And he would be someone that I would be keeping an eye on. I fear him more than Andre Schürrle. That's for sure anyway. But anyway, let's move on to West Ham. But before we do that, 2 bits of information. The first one is our boats are open. While Fulham might not be staying afloat in the Premier League, the boats are staying afloat on the canal outside the ground. Or well, hope so anyway. If you fancy joining us for a beer or 2 or 3 and a burger as well, you can get your tickets. The link is in the description below. Kids go free as always, and we will see you there on Friday night before the game. The other bit of information is the referee is Lee Mason. Now, why you're thinking, why is that relevant? We had him against Watford not long ago when he could not count up to 10 yards when setting his wall up for free kick. So if we get a free kick outside the box, I'm afraid the wall is only going to be about 7-8 yards away anyway. But moving on to West Ham, lots to talk about with the lineup. Before we get on to the good news, Zabaleta or Ryan Fredericks? Fredericks is up against his old club, Fulham. Luke, who would you like to see at right back?
I'd like to see Fredericks. I think when it's someone against their former club, they've always got a point to prove. Like, him saying, I went there because, and this is why, and I want him to show down Friday night. He's coming into the team now, looking like a good player, pacey, and, I'd love to see pace in our side, which I think we've lacked over the years, to be honest. So, yeah, Fredericks all day long for me.
What about yourself? Gonzo Fredericks is coming from a bit of mixed reviews after Palace, after Zaha obviously got the goal, etc. Zabaleta had to come on for him. Would you be sticking with the tried and tested Zabaleta or going for Ryan Fredericks, who gives you a little bit extra going forward?
I think I'd go with Zabaleta for this particular one, but I do agree with what Luke said about former players wanting with a point to prove, but I probably would. It was very hard actually, because I still, believe it or not, I was actually there at Crystal Palace, and I've still not seen the game because, well, it was all up the other end. I didn't see a thing. So I haven't watched the highlights yet, so you couldn't really see much, to be perfectly frank. But I would still play Zabaleta.
I would go for Fredericks as well, because I like I said earlier, it's time to start planning for next season, and currently Zabaleta is not here. Also, it's come out that I seen on Clan who earlier that Pellegrini was impressed by Ben Johnson, and he's been highlighted as the next person to make a breakthrough, who's obviously right back. Well, if that's the case, then let's start this development, etc. We should know by now is Zabaleta staying next season or not. Pellegrini should know, and if he is, fair enough. But if he's not, it's Fredericks for me. And Fredericks has got 3 months to earn a place at West Ham for next season. If he gets found out, we need to move him on in the summer and get a top right back in. So it's Ryan for me. Now, the good news, Manuel Lanzini is back in the squad at last. And also double good news from Pellegrini earlier that Samir Nasri has also been in training all season. So we might have 2 Flair players in the squad. Whoa, what will we do? We don't know what to do with all this extra creativity. It's almost going to be like an episode of Art Attack. Well, Pellegrini looks like the head on Art Attack as well, doesn't he? He looks like that bust, Pellegrini. So it's all things Art Attack. Gonzo, in the midfield, he's been playing 3 in midfield recently. Would you be switching that at home to Fulham? Would you be going for a more creative player from the start, or maybe 2 up front?
Yeah, I'd tweak it slightly. So it's still technically 3 in midfield. If you want to say the number 10 who joins the striker is a midfielder, count it how you want. If that is the truth, and that would be absolutely lovely, and he might well deem that each one is only fit for a half, I'd do each half. I'd do a sub at half time. I'd probably start with Nasri and then bring Lanzini on. Because let's be fair, it's not like Lanzini has had a knee ligament injury or anything like that. He's been out for 3 weeks. Sorry, Nasri. It's not like Nasri's had a bad knee. He's been out for 3 weeks or something like that. So aside from that, he's been training since November. So I think we could start Nasri relatively low risk. That's great news, though. It's great news.
And I assume Noble, Rice in midfield with Antonio and Anderson either side.
All of that, mate. All of that. Yeah, I don't even need to be here, Gio.
Well, I'll ask you for your striker in a second, though. Luke, what about yourself in midfield?
Yeah, Noble and Rice are always dead certs for me, mate. I think, to be fair, I think with the Lanzini thing, I'd barely give him 5 minutes. If I'm honest, I think when he's been out this long with this big of an injury, you're just risking him, bringing him back for this many minutes. Just give him 5 minutes, get up to the pace of the game, and then bam. Fulham is the sort of game we should be winning without Lanzini, without Nasri. They're pretty much down. I look at the way Arsene Wenger used to bring back players. He never really had players that were out for that long. I used to see Theo Walcott at Upton Park just warm up, and he'd been out for 3 or 4 months, and he still wouldn't bring him on. I just think, don't rush Lanzini back. Just give him a few minutes maybe, and let him get to the pace of the game. But yeah, again, for this sort of game, because it's Fulham, I think I'd like to see someone like Anderson centrally. But yeah, no, I've been impressed with Nasri since he's come, so I'm sure Nasri will play a big part on Friday.
Luke, Gonzo, would you like to see Snodgrass dropped? And I'm gonna say I would like to see Snodgrass left out for this one as well. And yourself as well. You've not really said Snodgrass. Does he deserve to be dropped, or is it just a case of something's got to give in order to get more creativity on the pitch? And unfortunately, he's the victim.
Yeah, I mean, he grasps, but he's not been playing well, and that's been going on for a while now. So I would drop him. Yeah, I would.
Gonzo, striker. Hernandez started against Palace, a bit like Fredericks, had a little bit of mixed reviews, etc. But Arnautovic has been back fit from his bruised foot for about 3 weeks now. He's got a new haircut. That might help. I'm not sure. Paid for it out of his new contract bonus, I'm sure. But who would you like?
There he is. There he is. Latest edition of Blowing Bubbles. There you go. I think he's in the last chance saloon, and I would start him. I don't think he's got many chances left. He's got to do something now. He cannot continue to perform in the way that he has and bank on being included in the squad for the rest of the season. But it's necessity because of the situation of giving him this contract. We now need to keep his value high, and we need now to get him on form for financial reasons, which is no real reason to be picking a player anyway. And it's silly that we found ourselves in this situation. But I would start him and just hope that something clicks in his mind, that he starts to put some work rate and endeavouring. And if we are getting some creative players back, that will only help him. Of course, it would help Hernandez as well. But I think we need to get this fella up and firing and ready to go.
Luke, what about yourself? Would you like to see the grumpy Mexican or the grumpy Austrian?
The grumpy Austrian for me, mate. Yeah, he just needs a goal, doesn't he, after his saga? And I think Hernandez, his attitude hasn't been on point all season. So I just think Arnie's far more effective. So we got to go with him.
Yeah, I'm just copying Gonzo's team here in a way. I'd like to see Nasri from the start and Arnautovic up front as well. And to be honest, there's nothing really Hernandez has done wrong. I don't think he's played badly. I've seen a lot of people criticise. I think he's done okay. I think his attitude's been all right, actually, in comparison. I know he's wanted away, but that's fair enough. But Arnautovic has wanted away, and look what's happened. Perez has wanted away. He didn't go to Spain because he's had a small injury, but also because of his attitude in training. Pellegrini's just left him behind. Chances are he won't even be in the squad of 18 on Friday night. But Hernandez, while he's wanted away, he was there against Wimbledon playing. He's been playing this whole time. So while the other two have been throwing their toys out the pram, at least he's actually been putting the shirt on and getting out there. While not effectively, he's been doing it. But the only reason I've dropped him is because Arnautovic shoots our system a bit better than Hernandez does, unfortunately. And he can bully. This Fulham defence is low of confidence. If there's any team in the Premier League, defence-wise, except Huddersfield, that you'd fancy your striker to score against, it's Fulham. So we've got to get in about them. But also, come half-time, if we ain't winning, I'd like to see Hernandez on the pitch with him as well. Just go for it, go for goals, etc. But anyway, with all that in mind, Fulham are the only side in the Premier League without an away win all season. So, Gonzo, with all that, are you confident ahead of Friday night?
I am very, very confident for all the reasons you said. I remember that game, and obviously, understandably, our centre-back pairing, we still don't fully know what it will be. But Mitrovic was dominated when we played them, and I'd like to see more of the same. Their defence is shaky. You discussed it earlier, and we can get a shaky defence. You do not want Felipe Anderson running at you, and if Felipe Anderson is on form, no reason to believe he won't be. If this guy can start playing well, and we've got another creative player in, I just think we may well have far too much from, particularly if we start moving around. What was it? Was it the Arsenal game? Possibly. What game was it where we started knocking it around, playing triangles? And What game was it now? It wasn't the Arsenal game. I can't remember. Whoever. We were knocking it around beautifully. And we got a glimpse into what Pellegrini's philosophy was going to be. Well, if we start doing that in front of Fulham and they've got old Mawson at the back, he's got a turning circle of a Diplodocus at the back. They're just going to go straight past him. We're going to score a lot of goals. So very confident, mate, actually.
Luke, are we in for some fun on Friday, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think so, mate. I think this is one of those games where I said a few times, this is absolute must win. Anything less than a win, I'm going to be really, really disappointed, because looking at our form results-wise, it's actually quite poor of late. We haven't had a win in ages. It feels like ages. I mean, I know we got a good point against Liverpool, but yeah, this game is absolute must win. Really, really mean that.
Yeah, I'm reasonably confident as well. I call it a must win as well for the same reasons as Luke, because while the weekend's just passed, every West Ham fan was watching the FA Cup happening before their eyes, and the draw happens, and Millwall have now got Brighton at home, which would have been a very winnable fixture for us in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. We're all a bit pissed off, if you like, about not being in the FA Cup, and meanwhile we're seeing the players in Spain. Now, I've not got a problem with the players being in Spain, etc., but everybody wants to win a cup, and their reward for getting knocked out by Wimbledon is to go over to Spain, etc. And it puts a little bit of pressure on themselves, a little bit, I think, because if you lose, people are going to say, well, hang on a minute, you were over in Spain. Luke's right, we've not won a game in 4 Premier League games, plus the Wimbledon games, so 5 games without a win now. We need to do something. They need to show the fans that the season's not over yet, because if we don't win on Friday, we're all going to say, well, is this it? Is this what we've got to look forward to on Friday? Draws, and etc., etc. So we need to see something, and that something is going to be on the bench, Lanzini, because the cheer that's going to go up when he comes on the pitch is going to be like, we've scored a goal. It will be that good, because what an anticipation to get him back on the pitch. 3 confident hammers. Anyway, Luke, I'll start with yourself. Would you care to put your neck on the line? Give me a score prediction, please.
Yeah, I think 4-1 West Ham.
Wow.
I think 4-1 West Ham. Yeah.
Well, I said confident. We've got 2 confident hammers and an ill hammer. Gonzo, are you ill or confident?
I'm coming down with something mild, so I'm going to go with a 2-0 win.
I'm going to say a 3-1 win, West Ham. I'm going to say 3-1. But anyway, it's 3 wins for West Ham. Let us know in the comments below what starting 11 you would like to see. We're all slightly different, but similar here on the channel. How good is it to see Manuel Lanzini back? And of course, give us your score predictions as well. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new around here. And myself, Gonzo, and Tom will be back on Friday straight after full time, giving you our thoughts on the 90 minutes and hopefully celebrating 3 points. Also, head over to the Fulham channel. Michael Monday is back, and we've also got the preview for the Fulham game, another preview for the Fulham game by the Hammerettes. There's 3 Hammerettes giving their thoughts ahead of it with a slightly different concept. It's not set up like this, etc. So it's a completely different preview, completely different people. Go check out, links in the description, and we'll see you Friday night. Thank you for joining us.